Ahead and get started. But before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that this presentation is being recorded. I want to thank you all for being here today. I'm Dr. Melissa Cordero. I'm a clinical psychologist at the Academic and Staff Assistance Program. At ASAP, we provide confidential, short-term individual and group therapy for staff, faculty, and their adult family members. We also offer workplace consultations, workshops, and trainings. I will turn it over to ASAP's manager, Dr. Patty Montojo, to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Patty Montojo. I am so excited for this talk. As a working mother myself of two toddlers, Shira has so many resources, and the title says it all. We are doing the impossible right now. And so I'm very excited that Shira is willing to give her time because I know we're all very busy. And I'm glad that you're all here. So thank you for being here.
So like Patty mentioned, we're collaborating with Shira, who's from Employee Services, and she will be presenting on a much needed wellness workshop titled We're Doing the Impossible, Working from Home with Kids. She will also offer additional resources regarding caring for older adults and managing other challenges, as we've had some additional requests after our last presentation. Shira Meinard is our work-life resource coordinator for all staff and academics on campus. She has her master's degree in education, leadership, and social justice from Antioch University, where she focused her thesis on wellness in higher education. And Shira is passionate about creating harmony for working parents and started her work here last October, 4 days after her daughter's first birthday. So I will now turn it over to Shira.
Thank you, Melissa. It's so wonderful to be with all of you, and thank you, Patty. We really are doing the impossible. And so I would love this to be just a conversation of resources, but we have so many participants, such a needed topic so that I'll be doing it mostly as a presentation. But if you do have questions, if you have comments, please do put those in the Q&A. And we'll answer those probably towards the end, unless there's something that comes up in the middle that needs to be addressed. So thank you again, and I believe Melissa will be looking at that chat screen for me and letting me know what comes up. So first things first, I just put this on the front of all meetings, topics, everything right now. In this reality of working from home, Peter Gandolfo, he's an executive coach, but he posted this on LinkedIn, and it really, called to me, right? So as you can probably hear in the background, my kids are home right now. I've satisfied their needs, but it's possible that they will come in with an unexpected request, like they need more syrup on their waffles, or the volume needs to be turned up, right? So I am actually lucky today in that my daughter is back in preschool, but in general, I like to make this announcement because, you know, dogs bark, kids need things, it happens, and we're all here in it together. These are just a couple of housekeeping things. And again, this is a webinar, so you're all muted, so you don't have to worry about that part. Questions and answers we talked about, but please do mark anything, any questions that you have, any comments, add those to the Q&A. I think you can raise your hand, do all kinds of things. And then this is for all parents, not just moms, but in case no one told you this week, I see you making those hard decisions. I see you doing hard things, and I see you being a great parent and a great employee, and you are strong. So thank you for being here. Really being here is telling me that you're doing a great job. And we're all doing the best we can. So we talked a little bit about who we are, and then we're going to talk a little bit about mental wellness and how we cope with some of the loss and survivor's guilt that we may be feeling right now. We'll talk about some practical tools from working from home with kids. We'll briefly touch on childcare and leave options. I did do a presentation a couple of weeks ago talking more in depth about those. So if you would like the information about that, I'm happy to send it to you as well. And then we'll end with a mindfulness check-in just to bring ourselves back to center and send you all back to work or back to childcare duties with hopefully a new perspective. So this is me and my daughter there. She'll be 2 next month. And that's my grandmother. And it's a Zoom call, of course, picture there. But I like to include this in our conversation because a lot of us are not only taking care of our own children, but maybe taking care of parents or grandparents, whether they're close by or far away. I previously lived with my grandparents and took care of them for years, so I understand that struggle as well. And now she's living just across the freeway, so I'm frequently called over there to assist as well. But balancing the needs of both your kids and your parents or grandparents and the needs of your workplace and your own needs is a lot to do. And so I just want to honor those of you that are in that boat with me. And I thought we'd start here. 40% of working parents have left the workforce or reduced their hours due to the pandemic. This is survey results from Flex Jobs. It was published on September 15th, so it's a fairly recent survey. I will say this only surveyed maybe like 2,500, but there are so many surveys and academic studies that have been coming out about the impact that this pandemic is having on working parents and the long-term effects that it may have as well. And that's really why we wanted to talk to you, to know that you're not alone in this. We're there's a lot of us struggling and doing our best, and so we're going to work through some of those things. And we may be feeling overwhelmed. We may be feeling stressed. We may be feeling guilty or lucky, any of those things, and those are all valid. And so again, this is where we're starting with this mental wellness. If you or someone that you care about are feeling overwhelmed with emotions like sadness or depression or anxiety, or feel like you want to harm yourself or others, please do call 911, visit the disaster distress helpline. They even have a text now link that's on the bottom of the screen here. You can visit the National Domestic Violence Hotline if needed. And then of course, ASAP is here to assist you as well. So things that are out of our control, right? We can't control whether others are following the social distancing rules. We can't control how long this will last or how others react to it. The amount of toilet paper at the store or other people's motives. But we can control how we are following recommendations, how much we are limiting our social media, finding fun things to do at home. We can turn off the news when we need to, when it's getting overwhelming. And we can control our own kindness and grace and understanding for those around us. So I really want to acknowledge these are resources from UCSF, Department of Psychiatry, excuse me. And I really want to acknowledge that this is collective traumatic stress that we're going through right now. And we all handle that differently. And it's, this was written back in April. So now this has gone on for almost 7 months, right? We're all handling it differently. And we may go through waves too. It's not necessarily that we're feeling all of these things all the time. So I really want to encourage you to promote self-care, social support, and sleep, those supportive relationships that help increase your resilience and healing. We may be feeling communal grief, maybe moral distress, outrage at how the pandemic is being handled, or expressions of anger. Some folks may be just altogether, or feeling a lot of shame over how they're feeling. So there's a lot there, and that a lot of folks are experiencing. And along with that is a collective grief. We're all experiencing this loss right now, everyone on the planet. And I don't know that at any other point in our history, we've all experienced the same types of loss. Losses are of people, our family, our maybe loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, people across the world that we've never known, all dealing with the same virus, right? There's school, loss of school, work, connection, maybe your kid's prom was canceled, sports teams, of course, certainty and predictability, ignorance, even weddings and funerals have been canceled or extremely condensed. And of course, loss of normalcy. And for some, it feels a lot like life delayed, and we don't know how long that's going to last. And then, of course, for those that we have lost, life gone forever. And our kids are feeling this too. So I want to say, wherever you are in your emotions, realize that your reaction is normal and support those close to you where you can. See if you can pay it forward. You know, if you're feeling like, if you're feeling some survivor's guilt over still having a job or not getting sick or whatever it is, can you deliver groceries to a neighbor that's stuck at home? Can you, if you're not using your car, can you let a friend who's an essential worker borrow it to get to work so they don't have to take the bus? You know, things like that. Like, what can you do that aren't necessarily going to put you at risk, but something that you can do to pay it forward? And then realizing that you're not exempt from life's challenges. We're all experiencing different challenges, and those affect us differently, and that's okay. And then practicing gratitude. So one of my favorite things to do that actually a UCSB professor taught me when I was in grad school is practicing gratitude. So writing down 3 things at the end of the day that you are grateful for. Something that he did with his kids was to talk to them about 3 things that they're grateful for as well. So if your kids are old enough to do that, that's a wonderful place to start, and you can start it really early or with maybe a friend on the phone, whatever it is. So again, radical self-compassion and acceptance right now. Mind body exercises really help. Melissa is a wonderful resource for those. But there are tons of resources online too. There are apps, and we have some discounts to some apps, so those are available online. There are, we can start to think about some communal solutions too. There are, I know there are ASAP groups, periodically prioritizing relationships as, again, that social support, and creating physical and emotional safety. And then there's mental wellness for your children. We really want to understand and recognize that they see the changes that are happening, right? They feel whether or not they're back in school, there are differences. I know at my daughter's preschool, all of her teachers are wearing masks, right? Maybe they're not in school yet, so they're not seeing their friends. Learning is different. So we can expect behavioral issues and respond as gently as possible. Focusing really on safety and attachment this year. Maybe lowering expectations about whatever it is, right, in your child's world. But practice that radical self-acceptance again. Limiting social media and COVID conversations as much as possible, especially around children. And when we do, we can remember, I think this was a Mr. Rogers, right? Noticing the good in the world. When things are going wrong, where are the helpers? Who is doing the great things? You know, maybe it's an awesome scientist that you're really passionate about following, and maybe they're doing some wonderful research, or maybe it's a community group that's allowing some social support at distance, whatever it is. How can you help others? We talked about that, but how can you involve your children in that process? And finding something that you can control, that they can control. What are some choices that they can take effort over? So my daughter lately has been really loving, she's 2 now, or almost 2, so she is just the little choices, right? Do you want to wear the pink shirt or the blue shirt? But it's giving her some control over how her day is going. She likes to carry her lunchbox to the car. She knows that it's time to go. Things like that, the little things that show them that they have some choices. And if they're old enough, help them find a long-term project to really dive into, something that they can get passionate about. And maybe it's researching, or maybe it's writing a novel, or building a tree house, or whatever it is. Something that they can really focus on right now. And then engaging in those repetitive movements, and the left-right brain really helps connect your body, and finding lightness and humor in each day. So there's me and my daughter. That one's from several months ago at the beginning of our working from home. And so I had set up a desk in my bedroom, but you know, sometimes that doesn't work when a 2-year-old needs your attention, or 1.5. So sometimes she would sit on my lap while I'm working. We're all doing it, right? So I just want to bring in some practical tools now. And again, we've been talking about some heavy topics, so if we can just like take a deep breath and talk about working well enough from home right now. So if you can, attempting to confine your workspace to a specific area can be really helpful right now. Controlling the sound, whether that's playing some music, or maybe it's listening to an inspiring podcast first thing in the morning. What helps you focus and start your workday? Having a morning or evening check-in with a colleague or a supervisor can be really helpful to get started and really focus. And then try working in bursts or chunks. So maybe you have a timer set for an hour or 30 minutes. And you could have one for yourself, you could have one for your kids that says, I'm available at this time, depending on the age of your kiddos. And then ending the workday is super important. So closing your laptop if you're working on a laptop, ideally shutting the door to that room. I know my office is in my room, so sometimes it's not always possible, but if you can at least, you know, shut the computer, turn off your email, end the workday, whatever time that is. You know, maybe you are working a little bit of a flex schedule and you work some after your kiddos go to sleep. That's fine if that's what you've worked out, but make sure that there is still an end to your workday and time for you to unwind. And then I want to think about this. We have been doing this again for almost 7 months. So we may need to reset our expectations. I really liked this red, yellow, green for kids. So red is mom's in a super important meeting. You need to go see another adult unless the house is on fire, right? Yellow is quick questions are okay if the other adult in the house is not available, or the older child, or whoever it is. And green is it's okay to interrupt. I'm just checking emails or, you know, doing an interruptible project. But again, it's not just with our kids that we need to set those expectations. With your partner or co-parent, talk about your work status. Maybe this is an everyday check-in. Maybe this is a once a week check-in. What do you have on your plate for the week? Who's doing childcare when? Do we have other people coming into the home for childcare? Are they going to care? Those types of things. What are the children's routines going to be? And then what about your own time? Check in and set some expectations about when you're going to have time, when both of you are going to have time for yourselves. With your manager and your team, do share the impact that childcare is having. Share your own abilities, because everybody's different. You know, managers aren't in your home, so your ability, the impact may be different than another parent. And then share your plan. So like I mentioned before, maybe you're working 8 to 10, and then you need to take care of your kids for a couple hours, and then you come back. You know, that might work depending on your manager and your team. And with your children, try to have them create their own schedules if they're able to. You can schedule virtual play dates. I heard a rumor that the parks are going to be open again, and I'm really excited about it, but I haven't gotten quite confirmation on that one yet. But have them help out, right, at their level about their days. Can they unload the dishwasher? Can they make lunches? What are, you know, depending on their ages, what can they do? And then remember that distractions are going to happen, and that is part of the plan that you can create. This link that I have here, Career Family Strategy from Work 360, lays out some questions that you can talk about with your partner, with your children, with your manager, to discuss what your plan is going to be and how to make that plan successful. Okay, so I had to include this comment, this little comic here from Aubrey Hirsch. And she's talking about what it is to work and have kiddos at home. The 9 a.m., I get the kids set up. The second grader's in his bedroom on my laptop. The kindergartner's at the kitchen table on the iPad. And everybody has their different snacks. You know, it's roughly what I need to do each day is log the kids into their classes on time, take pictures of their homework and upload them to the correct portals, make sure their devices stay charged, keep them engaged, help them with all their asynchronous learning, like watching videos, reading, completing assignments, give them breaks when they start to fall apart from all the Zoom. And I'm feeling so proud of myself for having all the correct links handy and all of the devices logged into the correct child's account. But 10 minutes later, the iPad spontaneously restarts itself in the middle of kindergarten circle time, and my second grader needs a printout of some worksheets I've never seen before. So I reload the kindergarten class on my iPhone and frantically try to print the worksheet for my older son, which involves partially disassembling my printer in an unsuccessful attempt to unjam it. 9:15 a.m., already late. My older son's schedule has gone to his Google Drive instead of mine, where it usually appears, so I have no idea when Math Talk is or how to find the link. So then this day goes on, right? And I included the link to see the full one. It's several strips long, but it's worth it to read it and get through. So then you get to Wednesday, and twice a week the kid's dad is here for their first period of classes, and these classes go a lot more smoothly when each kid has a parent there to help them. Wow, this would be totally doable if we didn't have jobs. Oh wait, that's impossible. We need that, right? Just a little bit of a snapshot that I wanted to help lighten the mood a little bit, but also to recognize that we're all dealing with this, and everyone's at different stages. And I just feel for you if you are doing remote learning right now. So number one for families, if we can let go of the guilt and be realistic, focusing on what we can get done rather than what we can't. If you can keep children informed but not overwhelmed with information. So I've included some links on how to talk to your child about COVID. Connect with nature, taking a walk around the neighborhood, walking a local trail, enjoying some time at the park, especially if the playgrounds are open. Utilizing online learning resources. And there are a lot of online learning resources out there right now. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I do have some online on the Work Life Resources website, and they're outlined kind of by your children's ages and stages. But you can also take family indoor field trips to the San Diego Zoo, the Monterey Bay Aquarium, the Exploratorium, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, even the Louvre. So there are tons of things that you can do. I think there are some that are specific to Santa Barbara as well. And then if we can take a moment at the end of each day to acknowledge all that you did today and congratulate yourselves. You know, I used to write a list of all things that I needed done that day. And I still do that sometimes. But sometimes it's more important at the end of the day to write, like when it feels like, what did I even get done today? The house is a mess and the dishes in the sink and the work's not done, whatever. But take a moment to acknowledge what you did do. So maybe that's writing a list and checking it off of the things that you did get done today. I did make my children cereal, whatever, breakfast, right? We did go for a walk. We, I answered X number of work emails or finished a project, whatever it was. Just to take a moment to acknowledge what you did do, and then the day is ending, and then tomorrow you can start a new day. Keep the kids alive. For babies and toddlers, keeping your baby nearby obviously is going to be important if you don't have some help in the house. So one thing that a lot of folks are doing are to make busy boxes. So this might be simple things like a ball that rolls or paper that crinkles. For babies and toddlers, they don't need a whole lot, just a little bit of something to keep them entertained. And sometimes Tupperware, pots and pans are really exciting. My daughter's really loving taking everything out of her drawer where her plates and cups are and putting everything back in. That's one of her favorite things to do right now. And having a ready lineup of sensory activities that they can attack. And then multi-platform tools are great. So, if there are some learning games on the iPads, if you have them. I never used to, honestly, I'm just going to be honest here. I never used to recommend screen time but I did give in this summer, and my daughter now has some tablet, and that's okay. We're doing the impossible, and everything can be flexible right now. For preschoolers and elementary school kiddos, setting expectations. Again, maybe it's that red, yellow, green. Maybe it's giving them their own job in the house. I read one article where a woman hired her son as her assistant, and so he would take notes he would sit kind of off screen in her office, and he would take notes on her meetings. And it's not going to be necessarily the complete notes that you might want from a meeting, but it's keeping them occupied, and it does give you a little bit of support there. And then educational computer games, apps, there are tons of those out there. You can even pre-record read-alouds. So if you have a meeting at a set time and you know that your kiddo really loves when you stories, maybe it's just the sound of your voice that they need. So are there maybe one of your books that you can record reading like after bedtime or something, and then, or while you're reading him a bedtime story, record it, get two things done at once. For middle schoolers, tweens, it's okay if they're bored sometimes. Work together for them to create a to-do list. And now is an excellent time to be teaching life skills. Can they, if they don't know how to do the dishes, can they be doing the dishes? Can they make some simple lunches? Can they do, maybe it's time that they start learning how to do laundry. And checking in with them, talking about what's happening. You know, some middle schoolers and tweens are on social media, or their friends are on social media. And so talk to them to see, you know, what are they hearing? What's going on for them? And then using breaks to do something together, to do something fun. For teens, ask them for their daily schedule. Maybe create a separate workspace for them, or a workspace within your workspace. Maybe you're working side by side. It really gives them the opportunity to see how hard you work and what it takes to do your type of job. Be flexible maybe on bedtimes. You know, if they don't have to be up at a certain time for a specific Zoom session, maybe bedtime doesn't have to be as early as it used to be. Maybe that's somewhere where you can give them choice and challenge and opportunities. And again, checking in, talking, and giving them some space too. They're teenagers. A lot of their normalcy has been completely, being a teen is hard anyways, right? And so if we can give them the space to figure out how to do this teenage thing in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of no school, being, you know, their teenagers' social interactions are so important to their development. And
I think Shira's screen's froze for just a moment, so we'll just wait a second and hopefully she'll be able to get back online.
Did I get kicked out?
Yeah, I think you're back on now.
Okay.
Okay. I'm so sorry about that. Let's see if I get back in.
Perfect.
Okay. So mastering activity, we're going to talk just a couple of reminder tools. You may have already thought about these time savers, but they may have gotten lost in the shuffle of the last several months. So creating a consistent morning routine and adding me time to the list of priorities is super important. Maybe your morning routine is you wake up before the kids, you have your cup of coffee, you exercise, then you get the kids up and then you start your day. That's wonderful. Maybe it's you don't get out of bed till your kids do. But whatever it is, whatever that routine is, if you can make it consistent and work for your mind and your priorities, that's going to be really helpful. Lisa Tatum wrote an article, and she's, I want to say she's a CEO. She says schedule your time first, then the time that you're going to be with your family, maybe family events, childcare concerns, whatever it is. And then the work is going to fill in all of those other little spaces. It really will. So if you can make those priorities happen. And practicing mindfulness. We'll do one mindfulness very short session at the end, but this is just one way, and there are hundreds of options for practicing mindfulness out there. And then knowing when to ask for help. So we gave you those ASAP resources, some other resources that are out there, but please do ask for help. I'm here to help you. And there are so many services and support systems, even just calling a friend. Okay, so for time management, I was great at time management when we were in the office. I had my systems and solutions, right, about how I was going to go through the day. And sometimes that we need a little reminder. So you may have already heard of these, but I just wanted to bring them up in case they're helpful for you. So the Eisenhower matrix is making these 4 quadrants. And I recommend doing it on paper, but it might be on the computer, in your head, wherever it is. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. We do that first and immediately, right? Quadrant 2 is not urgent, but it is important, so we need to make a plan for it. So say academic advising starts next month, and so we need to make a plan for that, right? Or quadrant 3 is urgent, but it's not as important. Can we delegate it to somebody else? Delegate it to later in the week if you don't have somebody to delegate it to, whatever it is. And then quadrant 4 is not urgent, not important, then it's going off the list. Goodbye, eliminate it. So that's a great way to start your to-do list. Ivy Lee has his top 6 method. And the way that works is at the end of each day, you write the top six things that need to get accomplished the next day. And normally when I'm doing some of the time management type presentations, I would have you do that right now, but we have so much to talk about, I'm not going to, but think about doing that tonight. Ivy Lee's top 6, you write down the top 6 things. Then in the morning when you wake up, you do the very first thing on your list, you cross it off, and you move on to you don't do anything else till you move on till you're done with that first thing. And that really helps really give yourself a sense of accomplishment, number 1. And number 2, it helps you prioritize. And for me, it helps me get started in the day. Like sometimes at the beginning of the day, I'm a little bit foggy and I'm like, what do I need to get done today? There's so much work. But if I look and I have those top 6 things that I wrote down the night before, it makes it a lot easier to move on with my day. MIT is the most important task. Daniel Pink does a little pink cast on this. But it's basically the same thing, except that you're just going to identify the very first thing. That's all you're doing is you're identifying the very first thing that you need to get done. Some people put it on like a big whiteboard in their office. Some people, it's a sticky note on their computer, whatever works for you. And then the Pomodoro method is similar to that chunking, right? So it came out of the timer, the tomato timer. So you set a timer for 15 minutes or half an hour, however long it works for you. And you get as much done as you can on that one task in that chunk of time. And then you move on. Or you set another one. So you can do several throughout the day, or maybe it's just one to get you started at the beginning of the day. Again, whatever works for you. Is just a few things that I wanted to throw in there on some time management skills to hopefully help you kind of refresh when we're starting to get a little tired and run down. So we talked a little bit about work and how to juggle working and having kiddos at home. And now I want to kind of review the presentation that I gave a couple of weeks ago very briefly. But these are some childcare and education resources. And this grid is linked on the WorkLife website. It's also linked here in the presentation, which I think we can send out. And it's being recorded, so that's helpful. For infants, the governor started an entire childcare website, so you can look up your zip code, and it'll bring up in-home daycares, licensed in-home daycares, as well as childcare centers that are open right now. And it'll give you their website and links and information. If you're an essential worker, the Children's Resource and Referral of Santa Barbara County is specifically available for emergency workers, but they also have a section for anybody that needs childcare. So there are, and as well as financial assistance, they have a lot of great resources there. I will also mention Bright Horizons, and Bright Horizons is a UC partner. They provide a lot of really incredible resources for us. But one of the things that they do is it's called College Nannies. They recently purchased College Nannies, and they give us discounts and connect you specifically with nannies that fit your needs. And those are pre-screened. They also can connect you with Sitter City to post jobs, find babysitters, nannies, housekeepers, etc. And then they have some online resources as well. For toddlers, again, there are discounted rates and priority enrollment. For K through 12, I was really excited when I put together this list. They do fill up fairly quickly, but just so you know, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, Girls Inc., Wilderness Youth Project, Ventura's Prep Lab, Mathnasium, all are offering daytime care or activities or camps for your K through 12th graders. And then some folks are forming pandemic pods, and you probably have heard of those. And it's typically groups of 3 to 10 students that learn together in someone's home. And, you know, you can search Pandemic Pods chapters on Facebook, and that will link to several groups, including those in the Santa Barbara area and beyond. There's additional support available as well on our Work Life webpage. And then I'll just mention Santa Barbara School District has the Learn at Home online support. And there's also Bright Horizons Varsity Prep. So there's a lot of tutoring resources out there as well. And I know that I went over those childcare resources pretty quickly. So if you need help finding childcare resources and need a connection, please do reach out to me. I'm available on ServiceNow. You can email me, call me, whatever you need. And all of our contact information will be sent out as well. So let's say you've gone through all the childcare options. You've tried this working from home thing with kids. It's not working anymore, and you need to take some leave. So paid administrative leave is one of your options. It's up to 128 hours of paid leave available. You may have taken this already, but you may still have some time available. Sick leave, you can now, depending on your collective bargaining agreement, you may be able to take sick leave as designated by your collective bargaining agreement, and this has been authorized as well by the president of the university for all of our PPSM covered folks. EPSL, emergency paid sick leave, is up to 80 hours of pay for a full-time employee, and it's prorated for part-time employees. And again, that's available for childcare as well. And then expanded family and medical leave was specifically designed to help those of us who are trying to juggle childcare and work, and it's just not working anymore. So it's up to 12 weeks. The first 2 weeks are typically unpaid, but you can substitute EPSL, sick leave, PAL, any of those things to cover that time. And then the 10 weeks are paid. And for this one, they must be taken in a minimum of 2-week blocks. So just to be aware of that when you're thinking about creating a plan with your spouse or adjusting your plan, those are some of the options that are available. And then I just wanted to touch on caregiving for older adults. So setting up your parents or your grandparents for success. If they are struggling with dementia or Alzheimer's, how can you set up their day so that they understand, you know, when you are or not available, or especially if you're living with them, how are they going to get their needs met? And remember that they may be worrying about you too. So thinking about, you know, and if they're watching news, how do you limit their news intake as well? I know for a while my grandmother had the news on, it felt like 24 hours a day, and it's blasting through the house, right? So how do you limit their intake too, while respecting their age and understanding as well? Establishing boundaries. So you may be working from home, but you're still working, right? So how do you establish boundaries with your parents or your grandparents? And that may be similar depending on their mental capacities or their physical needs. It may be similar to establishing boundaries with your kiddos. You know, what works for you and for them. And then communicating the same way with your coworkers and your managers about what your situation is and what your needs are and what your capabilities are. And then please do mind your own health. The like stereotypical kind of picture of someone with dementia and their caregiver is like the person with dementia is fully dressed and has their hair done and ready to go to a doctor's appointment because the caregiver has focused all of their energy on them, and the caregiver looks completely stressed and, you know, bags under their eyes and exhausted and tired and hair frazzled. So taking care of yourself is a huge, huge one. And I really want to encourage you to do that. So I just wanted to check in and see if there were any questions or comments before we do this mindfulness exercise.
Yes, we have one question. Someone's asking, if you're the only parent at home with multiple children, how can you adjust the traffic light, red, yellow, green, when there is no other parent to go see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important. And I think that's having a conversation. I think it'll depend a little bit on a lot on the ages of your children. But one thing you could do is, you know, maybe red light means interrupt me if there's an emergency. What is an emergency? You know, you have to define what what constitutes an emergency. Is it someone got injured, or you know, emergency not probably changing the channel, or you know, can you put snacks out at their level where they can reach them so that I'm hungry is not an emergency. And depending on the ages of your kids, can you say, you know, maybe the oldest one is in charge for the very important meeting. You know, I don't want to leave the oldest one in charge all day because they probably have their own priorities and schoolwork that get done too. But maybe if there are those red light, green light moments, you can set that up as well. Things like, you know, yellow could be, you can interrupt me for lunchtime or whatever it is, right? Did you want to address this one at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the age of the children. And so, like you said, making sure that those expectations, you know, to define what emergency means. My 3-year-old often thinks an emergency is because, you know, Sesame Street is off. Like, you need to turn it on, Mama, it's emergency. And so I think the age of the child really, really kind of is a huge factor in the situation. But I think it's doable. I have clients who have, you know, 5, 6-year-olds, and I'm amazed that they're able to stay in their own space and engage in remote learning with the support of their parents, but definitely less than if you had a toddler.
Yeah, definitely.
It also, you know, somebody posted, and everyone's situation is very different, and we understand that as well, is that, you know, if you're a single parent and your child has medical issues and gets sick often, and I don't know about you, Shira, but at this point, that's a very difficult situation. My heart and soul goes out to all single parents, especially during this time. But at that point, I would ask for help. I would see who, like a friend or a family member, who can come over for a certain amount of hours to help with remote learning, to help with getting the house stuff done and to help with work.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need help navigating at work too, maybe it's an adjustment in your time. If your kiddos need you more specifically, what would normally be during the middle of your workday, can you adjust it so that that's not the middle of your workday? Maybe you're working in different shifts. I'm happy to help you navigate those kinds of situations as well. Or if you've already taken your leave and your leave is expired, you know, I'm happy to help you work through those kinds of concerns as well.
And there's a question. Can you please explain more about the left-right movement? So there was an intervention that you talked about earlier in the presentation.
Yeah. So I can explain it a little bit. I think Melissa could explain it even better than I can. But when you are crossing the center, you're really engaging your whole body, your whole mind. And so anytime that you cross the center, even if it's just for yourself at work, you know, it's taking that break and crossing the center can bring you back to focus, can bring you back to center, but also can really engage your mind in your practice. And maybe Melissa can touch a little bit more on that one.
Yeah, it's just oftentimes when we're looking at a screen all day, it can be really good and balancing to do some exercises that create a little bit more of engagement of, they call it just kind of like both hemispheres of the brain. And so there's different exercises that you can look up for that. And it's just a good way to give your brain a little break.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We have one other question. What kind of other accommodations and flexibility is UC providing for all employees? Where can all UC employees access this information?
Sure. So there's some information on UCNet for all of UC. Specifically for UCSB, there's a lot of information on our main HR page. The front page has some COVID-19 information guidance, and it talks a little bit about the leaves and adjustments that are available. If you are needing a leave, the leave team is going to be extremely helpful there. If you're just needing a workplace adjustment, if you are a staff member, that would be me. If you are an academic, then it's then there's a process on the academic side that you would talk to academic personnel, and they are great at addressing those considerations as well. If you are needing an accommodation, a workplace accommodation, the workplace accommodation team is listed on our HR webpage as well. Elizabeth Delo and Vanessa, they're very helpful.
Great. Well, I know people have to run to another meeting, and I want to be mindful of that. But we did post, Melissa just posted the survey link, and we are administering these surveys after every presentation to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the campus. And it helps with programming as well. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you, Shira. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have so many resources, and I'm glad that the entire campus was able to hear you and to know that you exist and that you're able to support them.
Thank you so
much.
Thank you
so much, Patty, and thank you all of you for being here. If you do want to stick around for a quick mindfulness coming to center, it'll just be a couple of minutes and then we'll sign off. So it's just going to be a quick one. If we can take a deep breath. And maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable. See if you can feel your feet on the floor. You can put your hands in your lap. Most comfortable position that you can find. Just ask yourself, what is happening right now inside my body? What am I feeling? There's no judgment there. There's no, just notice. Can I stay with that experience, whatever you're feeling? What are you thinking about maybe? And you can just experience that or let it pass by. Thank yourself for being present in this moment, for doing something for yourself during this hour. And you can open your eyes, feel your feet on the ground, maybe shake out your fingers a little bit, maybe stand up and stretch. Just a very quick moment to give to yourself. So thank you for being here again. These are some mindfulness tools, but I just wanted you to be aware that they don't have to be like long half-hour mindfulness sessions. It can be just a minute, 30 seconds, whatever it is. And here are some other mindfulness apps. Health and Wellness, just so you know, are doing meditations online almost every day. It's wonderful. And there are some more resources here for ASAP, for work life, my family resources. And then I did include the link for alternate and reduced schedules and the UC leaves plans. So thank you all.
Thank you so much.
We'll make this presentation available. We'll actually include everyone in the Google presentation if that's okay, because people are asking for all of these resources.
Absolutely.
So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.